I just can't look at you anymore. You're not him. Ow. But what's wrong with me? You drop support for too many devices. Just get out of here. Hey now, but really, what's wrong with me, though? Too much software locking. All of your coolest stuff went to the 15 Pro. Just get out of here, okay? You're perfect! Well, I did make a vow not to put beta software on any of my primary work machines, so I will not be putting macOS Sequoia beta, at least, on my MacBook Pro, and I haven't put iOS 18 on my iPhone. My iMac Pro is fair game, and it's been doing the rounds. You know, I lent it to my sister for a while. My wife used it occasionally, but I did not expect it to be compatible with macOS Sequoia, and it is. And because it's not my primary work computer, I'm okay if it kind of gets bricked or whatever. I decided, yeah, let's throw the developer beta on there and see how many of the new features they talked about actually made it to an iMac that came out way back in 2017. Yes, it was in the last 3 days of 2017, but that still counts. It's crazy to think that iMac that I unboxed all those years ago is still technically getting updates in new features. Like, best part of Apple by far, and yes, this was long before Apple Silicon was a thing, at least on the Mac that is. So first off, right after installation, it felt very stable, didn't run into any bugs, and I immediately got these amazing, incredible new screensavers that are now built in by default, that are very much a throwback to the legacy Mac days. Love the way they look. They provide just the right amount of motion while being mesmerizing and still keeping that display from showing the exact same thing at all times. So well done on the screensavers, Apple. And while my favorite parts of macOS Sequoia, like screen mirroring and maybe a handful of Apple Intelligence gimmicks, are not available, of course, whether you're on the latest Mac or the oldest Mac, it did gain the window snapping feature. So yeah, that is now built in by default, and it worked pretty consistently. It took a little getting used to figure out, okay, I need to put this down into a corner in order for it to take up a quarter of the display, but if you want it to take up exactly 1/2, it's very snappy, very responsive. It was seeming to work fairly well, and I know there were third-party apps that enabled this anyway, but it is refreshing to finally see them add it to the Mac, and I have to admit, it works a lot more intuitively than I initially thought. Like, when I first saw it, I thought it was going to be resizing my windows anytime I dragged them even slightly off screen, and now actually using it myself, I'm going, oh, that's not how it works at all. So if I want part of my window to be, you know, off into invisible land when it comes to the desktop, I can still do that very easily. So this is a welcome change I'm very glad to see finally added. They also brought a surprising number of changes to the macOS calculator app, now making it very easy to switch between scientific calculators and coding calculators, and that brings me to math notes. Even though there's no stylus support on the old iMac Pro, it does technically work within the Notes app, so you can easily write out math, and as soon as you put equals, it just answers the question for you. So even though Apple bragged about it the most on the iPad because of the Apple Pencil and all that, it's nice to see that that's coming to iOS 18 and macOS Sequoia as well. I'm also very grateful for all of the iMessage features already being ready and added to the iMac Pro on day one, letting me schedule messages into the future if I so desire, and highlight certain aspects of text if you want to bold them or italicize them, or of course add more animations to not just the entire message but specific words as well, and it works pretty consistently, very reliably. Aside from that, there were some additions to Safari to make video players and picture-in-picture activate a little bit more passively, and they cleaned up the reader view a little bit, but yeah, overall nothing, of course, other than iPhone mirroring that I consider necessarily game-changing, but once again, it's just really nice that a Mac I bought this long ago is still gaining new functionality, and I'm glad that Apple hasn't completely forgotten the Intel Macs of the days before. And according to Apple's own website, the iMac Pro from 2017 should still be able to support iPhone mirroring in a future update. The fine print does not claim that this requires an M chip of some kind. Pretty much the only thing in macOS Sequoia that requires an M chip is, of course, the Apple Intelligence features and the voice memo transcript. So that's something I'm not getting on the iMac Pro just because I guess the T2 security chip, the little bit of the iMac Pro that was Apple designed silicon, is not enough to power the whole voice transcript feature. But they do say that the iPhone mirroring should be coming later, but even if you have the latest silicon, like I said, it's not ready yet. So I'll keep you guys posted if they do add some more functionality to my iMac Pro, but sadly another thing that it's already been software locked out of, that's no change with this generation of course, is a lot of the webcam features. So at the top menu corner I just see the webcam, there's no reactions, there's no background changing, there's no masking out of subjects and screen sharing, so a lot of the cool features they brought to continuity camera are not currently present on the iMac Pro, which is a bit of a bummer, but I've also seen a lot of people get very annoyed with all of the reactions going off accidentally, so maybe that's a good thing that the iMac Pro doesn't have it. This is still, in my opinion, the best iMac ever made. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it has tons of I/O to choose from, and the angles on it, you know, pulling it out of retirement to use it is still so much fun. I love the fact that from most angles you're looking at it, it looks actually even thinner than the 24-inch iMac. I know if you're staring from it completely like 90-degree angle, then yes, it is thicker than the 24-inch iMac, but the black bezel all the way around, the clean chin, all of those ports on the back, it's a marvelous machine. I hope Apple takes advantage of the iMac Pro lineup in a future update by realizing that this would actually be the easiest way to integrate a ProMotion, you know, OLED or mini LED display on a large scale, because we're often limited by the throughput of our Thunderbolt ports or our HDMI ports. Yes, Apple could probably do 6K at 120 Hz over HDMI 2.1, but then you'd need another cable to do power for a laptop, and they probably don't want to go back to the days of having two cables to plug in an external monitor. But you could bypass all that if you just made an all-in-one iMac Pro that actually had good I/O, really fast silicon, and one symmetrical bezel all the way around. Come on, Apple, you can do it. iMac Pro has got one more year of software support in it, maybe two, just enough time for you to get your act together on the iMac Pro. And you could also make it double as a monitor for crazy high-end Macs like the Mac Pro or the Mac Studio. Just put in some beefy Thunderbolt and HDMI ports on the back. It'll be great. What do you guys think so far of macOS Sequoia? Are you enjoying it? Pretty much the only beta I'm running right now, because no iPad, no Apple Watch, and my iPhone and Mac are now work machines, so I'm hesitant to put any beta software on them. But let me know how the betas are holding up for you guys. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. This is your Help Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.